we are going to use the morning mug from TIPSY Magnolia with our full adhesive. We're going to cover this entire tumbler in this beautiful plum full from Southern Belle Glitter. We're using Wild Rose, and then we will be putting a border element on this one. I'm gonna grab the closest I can. This is Matte Eggplant Krylon, which I really don't love using. I love my color shot paints. This will take forever to dry, but it is the closest color to this plum. I'm gonna go ahead and spray paint our tumbler, and then we'll be back to add on our full glue and our full here in just a bit. We have our dried mug here. You want to make sure that your spray paint is completely dry before adding on your Southern Belle Glitter full adhesive. We're going to use, oh my gosh, I squirreled there for a second. All of a sudden it just started pouring outside. Okay, we're going to use a e.l.f. Total Face makeup brush. I like using this for honestly, any application with the full adhesive. It gets it really nice and even. So let's just get a tiny bit. And with this brush, you don't get any streaking either. I am using a very small amount. Now, if you get the full glue from the bundle at Gracefully Created, you are going to get a sample size, but that sample size is seriously going to last for a long time because this glue goes such a long way, such a long way. And then what I usually do is I go back over it and dab all around until it begins to dry a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and do this handle too. But I'm going to dab all around this cup. That way it's textured and I'm not going to get any lines in my glue or in my full when I apply it. We actually got a little bit too much. You can see it's not starting to dry yet. Typically it starts drying pretty quickly after you get it on your cups, whatever you're working on. And I'm just going to dab around until it starts to dry. This will get smoother and smoother as it starts to dry up. Once we start noticing that this is getting pretty even, then I'm going to stop and then we will finish drying it with the heat gun on low heat setting. Dabbing it like this also helps around the bottom rim. You can use this glue for glitter application as well. Okay, I don't know if you can see the difference, but this is what we're looking for here. That's nice and smooth, and that's how we want it to apply our full. So after I make my way around this cup, I'm going to stop and then dry it up with my heat gun. Okay, first I'm taking this to the sink. This glue does dry fast and it is super tacky, so make sure that you throw your brush into some warm water super fast after you finish using the adhesive. Once the adhesive goes clear from its white creamy color, then you know, it is completely dry. Don't lay this down on your table. Put it on a tumbler stand. This is my donut that I never decorated from Dimensional Drinks. We're using plum. And we're just gonna go for it, obviously. I'm not worried about this being perfect because I can't talk. I do like my fulls to look distressed or rustic looking. So I'm just gonna use my fingers or my nails to rub it down, and I'm not gonna worry about getting this perfection on here. That way some of that paint does show through and we get this really nice metallic rustic look. I would trim this off to work a little bit easier with it, but you know, I don't know where my scissors are. So I think I need to go find my scissors. I didn't find my scissors, but I did find my craft knife. Now you can take a wire brush, a paintbrush over this, or even a popsicle stick would work good to rub this down if you want more coverage than what I'm going for. I'm not going for lots of coverage. And also, if you want complete coverage without any of your spray paint showing through, you would want to do a little bit of a thicker layer of glue. I am pretty happy with that. All right, y'all, so I just recorded some and I wasn't recording, but what we did is I took our a little extra ink epoxy and I put a super thin coat on our tumbler. My voice is muffled because I am using epoxy, and anytime you're using epoxy or in a room where epoxy is curing, you want to make sure that you are wearing your respirator. I put a mega thin coat of a little extra ink incorporated epoxy on my tumbler, and then I took my hand and dabbed all around so we are getting that super smooth. Since our glitter is not going to come all the way down to the bottom, I did take my torch and I ran over it super fast since it's really thin to pop any micro bubbles I might have created while I was giving this some texture. We are going to go in with, let's see, I believe we chose to do Wild Rose on this one. I'll come in from the top. We're going to go heavy right here at the top. Ooh, it's going to be so pretty. Now, you can already see that when I mixed this glitter, I wanted to make sure that the opal that I mixed in it was rainbow. So this is going to give off all kinds of colors, so it's going to match any of the florals that we have. I'm going to tilt the cup and just let it fall down. Now our florals are going to come about halfway. So we're going to let our glitter be pretty decently thick until about that point and then taper off. Oh, that's such a pretty combination. I love it. And then for the handle, we're going to do the same thing to keep everything cohesive. Just a little more difficult to get it on here. The same. That's so pretty. So pretty. Let's have more. Okay. So our florals, kind of eyeball it here. For florals, there's going to be some of this glitter that shows through at all parts of this. But we do want this to come down just a little bit more. It fell through that hole. Good. You can still see our beautiful folds through there. I like that. I like it a lot. All right, we're gonna knock off that excess, allow this to dry, and then we're gonna come in with 2 coats of a little extra incorporated epoxy, sanding in between. Okay, our tumbler has completely dried. Now, one mistake that I did make, and I always seal my cups, but for whatever reason, I skipped that step on this one, and you can see there's no bubbles. It's just some of the, sorry, my nails are, they're clean, y'all, I promise. I just come from the garden and scrubbed the heck out of them, and they're still tinted. But it almost looks, there's super micro fine sparkles in there, and it's almost like a dust that come from the full. So make sure that you do seal your fulls in before you add your epoxy. We're going to keep going with this because I do like the extra shimmer in there, but it can be mistaken for bubbles, so just make sure you seal that in. Okay, so I have cut this away from our beautiful bold color sheet, and I'm going to trim around all of these flowers. I did kind of a sloppy job here. And when you're using element decals that have, well, any kind of decal, you don't want to leave the edges jagged like this. You want your edges to be smooth. I have found that if you have any sharp corners or jagged edges on the clear portion of your image, it will show under epoxy. So just make all of those edges really smooth. I'm not even gonna attempt to cut that straight line. Nope. There we go. Okay, and this portion here should go around the handle. Let me measure it or lay it out. Actually, it will come a little further over like that. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up and trim off a little bit of that backing so we have a little bit of that adhesive. Once we have this lined up, we'll press that down and then work our way around the cup. You want it just ever so slightly down from the top rim. And then we'll use our squeegee to press that down really good as we work our way around the tumbler. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm gonna get this pressed down extra well. There's no need to seal your decals in. You can go straight in with epoxy. And I would suggest putting a layer of epoxy in between your floral images and a decal, like if you're going to use vinyl on top of this for a name or a quote, because you will be able to see that indent if you're using a solid vinyl instead of something that's textured. So we're going to go ahead and give this a coat of epoxy. So I decided that we're not going to add a decal on this one. I feel like if I add a decal, it's going to take too much away from our flowers because they are pretty bold themselves. So I'm going to leave this as is. I think it's beautiful and it really doesn't need a decal, so that is what we're going to do. I put my respirator on. Alright, and then we're going to use our a little extra incorporated epoxy. I'm sure a lot of you do this, but sometimes it can be difficult to get your measurements correct with your part A and part B. Part A is thicker, so if you pour it first, you do need to let it sit for a minute. That way it kind of settles down into the cup and you can make sure that your measurement is correct. But if you use your thinner part first, which is part B, you can go ahead and put that in, and you don't have to allow it to settle. Then when you put your part B in, that level is going to rise and you don't have to wait, and your measurements are going to be more accurate. That's my little tip of the day. I got these little silicone stir sticks from Hobby Lobby, and I really like them. I've had stir sticks before that were kind of really flat and maybe like 1 inch wide. And I've had so much trouble getting the epoxy off of them unless I use acetone, and then, I don't know, it's just never worked, but I like these. I really like a little extra ink epoxy. They have a really good fast set turbo. And both the regular setting epoxy and fast setting are a little bit on the thinner side, so maybe thin to medium viscosity. So it's really easy to work with. It's really easy to get it mixed properly. It self-levels really well. It does have a little bit of an odor to it, but I take that as a reminder to put my respirator on. And if you have a respirator on, then the odor shouldn't bother you. All right, I've got this nice and even. I'm going to pop it on my turner, torch it to get any micro bubbles out, and let it cure. Here is our final result. It has a couple, you can see it there, a couple imperfections where the AC come on in my craft room and I forgot to close the vent, so it threw some dust around and we got a couple dimples on this, but I will sand it down and give it another coat, but it was good enough to show y'all. The only thing that I wish I did differently on this one, like I said, was seal in. We really needed to seal in our fulls, but aside from that, this turned out beautiful. It is something similar to what we have made in the past, but rather than just having a solid base, we incorporated those fulls in there, and you can see that beautiful texture in behind our waterfall glitter. Definitely something that you can see a little bit better in person, but I really like that look in the background. It just gives it a little something extra, and these florals are beautiful. If y'all have any questions, drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. That is all for today. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next time.